Good afternoon. Thanks for coming. Recap of our game from Saturday. MVPs of the game. Max and Hook on defense. Him, those safeties all over the field. Key defensive third down stops, fourth down stops. A couple plays got out through there, and those guys were able to get them guys on the ground consistently, and led to a really stout defensive performance. Emilio Duran, I thought, was excellent in the kicking game. Flipped the field multiple times and allowed our defense to make Northern drive long fields. And when that's the case, it's really hard on opposing offenses. Really credit to him and Jerwan Newton for executing that pooch punt at the end to get the ball down inside the 10-yard line. I thought that was a really key play to finish off the game. And offensively, Jacob James, I thought he did a really good job up front. A couple offensive linemen had their best games. Alan Jones had a really good game as well. And But to see those guys kind of gel together and do a good job in some of those early down run scenarios, I thought was really positive to see. So really good team win. Proud of John Allen for coming in and stepping in and doing a really good job there in his first career start in a tough environment. And DeKalb, Illinois is not an easy place to win, as history would tell us here in our program. So to do it, I think that's our third in a row there. And it took a whole 60-minute effort by everybody in that locker room. So I'm glad we handled the trip the way we did, got back home safely. Here we are, turned the page to rivalry week, and a team that obviously that we're very familiar with and the program we're very familiar with, a game that means so much to Northwest Ohio, the city of Toledo, and into Bowling Green as well. So looking forward to a great game. Hopefully this is a sold-out, packed environment for both schools to enjoy the pageantry of college football and what college football should look like on a Saturday afternoon. Sounds like we're going to get great weather, and hope we have a great week of practice in preparation for that.
How rivalry games, a lot of emotions, everyone's really jacked up at the beginning. How do you kind of temper the emotion in the first quarter, kind of early in the game, both the coaches and the players?
I don't think you can. I really don't. I don't think you can. Hey, you're too ready to play. You need to calm down. I think our guys understand, there's statistical data now of the catapults that the guys wear and those things of like what is overdoing it from a preparation standpoint throughout the course of the week and in pregame, that kind of thing. So no different that way. We'll monitor that as we always do. And, I think we have a veteran group of guys that understand that, this is going to require all 60 minutes. And I thought, obviously the outcome turned out really good last year for us at the end. But, there's a big stretch of that game last year that was pretty ugly for Toledo. So we got to be better. We got to do a better job of handling situational football. We got to do a good job of, the things that are in the game and not really worry about the things that are going around outside. But, again, that inside-out approach that I always talk about.
Harold Bannon, maybe the best tight end in the country. He actually has, I think, 495 yards after the catch, which is kind of absurd. How do you, stopping him, I guess, you're not going to stop him, but how do you limit him? How do you make it so he doesn't beat you or stretch you?
Yeah, I think they do a good job of trying to put him in positions where they get the matchup that's favorable to them, and he's a tremendous player. He's a tremendous talent. Obviously, I don't have to go any further than the statistics you just shared there. What you do when you get the football in your hands speaks volumes to who you are as a player. So a lot of respect for him, his game, a lot of respect for the plan that they put around him. We got to be at our best and do a great job, have a great week of practice to try to limit his, the impact. And you always want to try to take away the other team's best player, But I also think don't get lost in the shuffle here. Like the running back there is an extraordinary player that is really hard to tackle, and you have to limit rushing yards, and you have to do a great job of making sure that guy gets on the ground before you worry about anything else.
The quarterback situation for Toledo, is that just something you evaluate as the week goes on?
Yeah, I don't see where we're at injury-wise and what that looks like as we progress through practice this week and try to see, what it is that we have available to us, and then from there try to put a plan around the guy that's going to start and go play and play well.
Conversion downs are something you guys emphasized as a strength. It started in the first half of the season. How do you feel like you continue to work and improve on conversion downs when they maybe haven't been as strong last week?
Offensively?
Yes.
Yeah, we stink on conversion downs. So, has to be a high emphasis of practice to fix it. Third down, fourth down, you can't extend drives if you don't do well in those scenarios. So you got to keep putting your guys into situations, practice that way. A lot of good on good last week of practice and be that way again this week. I think one thing that, not every possession has to end in a touchdown. There are some possessions that it's a good scenario where it ends in a punt, you know what I mean? And I hate saying that being an offensive-minded person, but, not turning the football over, not self-inflicting, 0 turnovers, 0 penalties on offense. Our 12% rule that we kind of live by is down around 8% last week, which is really low. And you play good team football when that's the case. Now, do you want more productivity on third down? 1,000%. Do we have to get better? 1,000%. So we'll be hard at work at it this week, but we got to make sure we continue to take care of that football as well.
You guys were able to establish a little bit more balance this past Saturday. Just kind of what do you like in terms of the response in terms of the offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they had to block a really tough front. I mean, there's some big bodies over there that have, the defensive tackle Zero from Northern has wreaked havoc the last few weeks, and they did a good job keeping him in check. He's an explosive player that gets on edges of blocks consistently, and he's really good with his hands. They have really great length at defensive end, and the backers are good players. So, you try to get even hats on hats in the run game, however you do it schematically, whether you're a 5-receiver team or you're a no-receiver team. You always want to try to run the football with equal hats, and I thought for the most part we were able to do that, and the guys blocked up the plays well, and we were able to spit a couple out. Connor ran really hard. Savon Clark ran really hard. Some tough extra yardage things after contact, that I think were kind of tone setters for the game. So can you build on those, and can you take those into this week and kind of build some trajectory off of that? I hope so.
When you look at BG's defense, what kind of sticks out for you?
Well, I mean, veteran at key spots. 2 really good defensive tackles. Linebacker, they've had a lot of starts there. Guys that have played a lot of football. Really good one really, really good corner. And they've had some injuries in the secondary, but some guys that have been in there with great length and size. And C.J. Brown's not a player that has been there for a long time, but he's played at Northern Illinois. He's familiar with our team, and so I think a cohesive group that wants to pressure you and put some heat on your quarterback and put him in situations where he doesn't take care of the football and he does give it back, give it to you. So we just got to do a really good job making sure we know where they're at, and we got to block them when we have our opportunities, and be accurate with the football when we have our chances to throw it.
Yeah, you mentioned kind of the atmosphere that was expected on Saturday. It's been a while since you guys have played on a Saturday in October. Is it any different, I guess, than years past for you?
Well, I think the game should be on a Saturday. I think it's again, everything outside the stadium, that's really good for that. I mean, inside the white lines there of what game day looks like, I don't know if it's too terribly different if you play at noon or if you play at midnight. And in this league, you play all over those time frames. So, it's just wherever they put you, you put the ball down, you play, and you do your best job to try to win the football game. But I think there are things that go around the game that I think are important to the community, important to our fan base, important to their fan base. Yeah, I think this thing deserves to be on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, obviously, this game carries weight in terms of how tight the race in the MAC feels right now and that implication. What would it also just mean to retain the trophy, given just what everything means with kind of the rivalry and kind of flip-flopping back and forth the past couple of years?
Well, I'd start there. I wouldn't start in the MAC race because I don't think that means anything here right now. This is how you get to the next game and how you play really well in this one. This week matters more than any other week because it's the moment and you're in the now. So does the now become a little bit bigger because it's this game? Probably. Am I crazy to sit here and as a coach speak to say that downplay that? Yes, probably. So you got to do a good job making sure that we are emotionally stable to start the football game. We stay in there all 60 minutes of it, and then if we do what we're supposed to do and the outcome ends the way we want it to end, it'll be a big win for our community, a big win for our team. And if it doesn't, there's challenges still remains the same on Sunday afternoon. You got to get back and you got to play the next week and all those things that are, pertains to your first part of that question. That always let that unfold how it unfolds.
These past 2 Bowling Green games have been 2 of the most thrilling games in the Rockford's history, I would say. You do a really good job on the sideline of not showing your emotion too much. What's it like as a head coach the way those games ended? Inside, are you going crazy, or are you calm inside as well?
Well, I think the team is supposed to take the approach of what the coaches are, and if we're going to preach to our team about being poised and composed, and we're losing our mind in every moment, things it looks like this. That's not the message we're trying to send. So it's going to require all 60 minutes and every second of every minute. So the last 2 years it's come down to that. One worked out in our favor where we handled that situation really well, and the other one we didn't. And the consistency throughout the course of the game, the ebbs, the flows, the turnovers, the response to turnovers, the the stops, the little hidden things, the hidden yardage in the kicking game. Like, everything gets magnified, and you want to just do the best job you can that way. And at the end of the day, it's not about the event, it's about the response, and you have to be poised and composed when that response comes. And I think our football team has lived that this year. What we haven't done a good job is handling success. I mean, we followed up a Mississippi State win with a loss. We followed up a big win over Miami with a loss. After a loss, we've been good. Like, how are we going to handle a big road win last week when it comes to playing this game this week? Like, that part of it we got to do a great job with. And high emphasis on details this week, just like the rest of the weeks. But the composure of what it requires to play all 60 minutes, I think that has to start with the head coach and go all the way down.
When it comes to finishing games, is that something that you adapt to or remind them when the fourth quarter starts, or how does that kind of dynamic work when you guys talk about finishing games?
I don't finish everything we do, right? Like, February, run through the line. Like, start behind the line, run through the line. And that's just the mentality that is put into our guys from the first whistle of winter workouts through the last whistle of a bowl game. So, that mentality, and now maintaining the consistency through the duration, that's the challenge, right? And there's examples all over college football where that's not being done at a high level. So you don't want to be in that boat. You want to be in the one that, is the team that has the ability to continue to be who they said they were going to be. Everybody breaks it down in January and February. Those huddles are really tight. Everybody wants to have that camaraderie and, rah, we're going to go win the championship. And then all of a sudden things don't go your way. And all of a sudden that huddle starts to break apart. And all of a sudden somebody's got something to say about something that doesn't matter. And pretty soon your team becomes a segmented organization, and you're in packs. You're not as one. And you have no chance. So you get into this point in time, you want to make sure that you stay as one as long as you can, and I think you have to fall back on those details and those fundamentals that you put back into them the minute they walked on campus, and the things that really the players said they wanted to do back in January.
Kavon Butler, seems like he's really grown into his role on this team in the last few years. What have you seen him do to earn this opportunity?
Kavon's been awesome. Not a guy that says a whole lot, just goes to work, does what he needs to do. Now, one of the key plays in the game, I thought, Saturday, 4th and 1, reaches his hand through underneath the center's legs and grabs the quarterback's leg, and the guy can't go nowhere. Maxon comes around off the edge, and makes a tackle. I kind of made the joke in the team meeting that Maxon gets to go do the press conference, and everybody loves Maxon. And there's Kavon holding the guy up, but life of a D lineman, right? But man, oh man, that's just consistent play and doing your job at a high level when you're required to do it. And I don't make light of the scenario because the D line gets all the credit from the secondary, and the secondary gets all the credit from the D lineman. So that's team football, and you have to have some guys that are on the offense and defensive front that don't get a whole lot of credit, and play your position at a really high level. I know it means a hell of a lot to him to be here and doing it well here because this is where he grew up and he's in front of his people. I think it's a really cool thing, and we've had lots of examples of that of players in the past, and hopefully in the future we have more Kavon Butlers and more guys like that from right here in the city that are able to do that for their people.
Sticking with D-line personnel real fast, how would you describe, I guess, like the importance of Darius's leadership, despite not being one of the captains? I guess, what do you see in the way that he's a leader of this team that he kind of embodies?
Well, I think any player, first and foremost, has to learn and has to capture the ability to lead themselves before you ever have the sphere of influence to influence anybody else. And that's a struggle that every player goes through, when you come onto campus. Some of those struggles are small. Some of those are, like, hey, we can work through. Some of those are massive. But there's a transition phase, and everybody handles that different. And usually the guys that don't handle that transition phase very well, they're not here at the end of their career, to be honest with you, for whatever reason. But that guy has stayed the course, I made him play offensive tackle as a freshman, and he probably isn't too proud of that and doesn't want to talk about that to you and tell you that. He wants to tell you about he sacked the quarterback. But, like, being uncomfortable in a scenario, working through those scenarios, seeing what you can be and getting a glimpse and getting a taste of what that could be for you if you would just be the best version of yourself. And then when you do that, watch the success that follows that. And I think he's a clear example of that.
Any other questions for Coach? Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.